everybody, if you watched my last video, we put together this RC drift chassis, the Tamiya TT02, and at the end of that video, I told you that I'd be showing you how to paint a body in the next video. Well, allow me to share with you a little bit of a sad story. There is no footage of me painting this body here for it. So, what I went ahead and did is I bought some more color and another body, which I'll be showing you how to paint up somewhat like this in this video, from applying window masks, stickers, actually painting the body, how to prep it, cut it out, everything. In-depth process, start to finish. So without any further ado, let's get started prepping the new body for paint. So we're going to start off with a bit of an unboxing type thing, not really in a box, but we're going to open it up and show you everything that this body comes with. This is a 69 Mustang body from Protoform. Pretty cool. So of course, first thing, we've got the body here. Got a protective film on the outside of these bodies. Make sure that when you're spraying them, you don't get paint on the outside, because you actually paint the inside. And like I said, we'll go over all of this in depth here soon enough. So there's that. Of course, you got the decal sheets and everything in this packet right here. You can see right here, window masks. So if you want clear windows or black windows or whatever, you put those over the windows before you start spraying any paint. You've also got things like the grille, headlights, tail lights, and then of course brand stickers. That's everything that comes with. So the next step is going to be to start prepping this. What you're going to start off very first is cut off all the excess. You're only going to want to paint what actually goes on the car. And to cut these bodies out, there's two tools you're going to want. This one is for making holes. It's called the body reamer. You can see its cone-shaped profile allows you to basically drill all sorts of different sized holes, just depending on where you stop along its length there. The other thing is a pair of Lexan scissors. Really, you can try to use just normal like kitchen scissors, though you're gonna pretty well struggle to do that. The other thing you could do, if you really don't want to spend money on these, is use an X-Acto knife to score the lines and then just break it off. Though honestly, for like $5-10, this is going to make your life a whole lot simpler. They make two different types as well. There's a straight type and then a curved type. This one is the curved type. I recommend getting these ones because it allows you to cut around the curves in the wheel arches. Alright, and with our curved Lexan scissors in hand, we're going to get started cutting this guy out. I'm not going to make you painfully watch me cut absolutely everything out. We'll get to a time lapse, but it's as simple as just slowly going around and cutting along. Usually you'll see there's a line like along the bottom of the body here in the wheel arches, pretty well defined where you should cut. One more thing I forgot to mention before I finish cutting this body out. Another tip is to not cut actually along the line the first pass, basically to just cut off most of the excess. It's going to be a lot harder to cut accurately with all this flash in the way, essentially. So if you cut most of it off first, you're going to be able to get much more precise along the actual lines that you're trying to cut the second time around. Alright, and with the body all cut out, next step we're bringing back the chassis again because we're going to start doing our test fit here. So we're going to want to place this guy on here, figure out where we want it to go, make sure it's all lined up, centered with the wheels and the center of the chassis, and then we're going to grab a Sharpie or something of the like that, and then carefully mark where our body post holes need to be drilled out. And then before we move, line it back up with our dots and make sure that the dots are going to give us a body that is centered along where we would like it to be. Alright, and with those marks double and triple checked, the way you're going to use the body reamer is simply apply a downward force into the Lexan, turn it back and forth until it breaks through, and then you're going to spin clockwise to drill the hole. Now this does take a moment. Alright, and I probably made that one a little too big, but doesn't hurt to have them a little larger than needed. Now we're going to bring the chassis back once more and double check that that hole is actually big enough, and it is. So now we just got to drill 3 more. Then we set it down, adjust our lower body mounts, make sure everything looks good. And then if you like, you can also drill a hole for your antenna. I am not going to do that. Alright, and with all those post holes drilled, we're ready to drop the body on for the first time. Like so. Alright, and this body fits pretty well. What we need to do, as you can see, is raise the rear lower body mount and lower the front a little bit. So, on the TTO2, that's as easy as pulling these pins, raising it up a couple in the rear, like that, and we'll just go 1 down in the front, same way. Drop our body back on there, give it a good look, and that looks a whole lot better. And with everything trimmed out, body holes cut in, we're ready to start masking this off and then paint it. For masking, a lot of bodies will include pre-cut window masks in case you want clear windows, black windows, or something that's just generally a different color from the body color. I will be applying these because I'm going to be doing black windows. The other thing you'll want to do is put some kind of masking on anything else that you don't want to be the main body color. For example, chrome trim on bodies like these, if you want them chrome or black or something that's not like the body color again. So we're going to get that done and then clean it up, and then we'll be ready to paint. Alright, got the windows and the trim masked off here because I want the trim to be black, but I also want my bumpers to be black, and now I did try to put some vinyl tape in there to mask that off. It's a bit of a difficult surface, so what you can do in situations like that is get something like this right here, liquid mask from Spaz. It's essentially just liquid latex you can brush on to mask off certain areas. Dries after a couple hours and gives you something you can peel off very easily once your painting is done. So with that said, you'll want some disposable brushes because that is nearly impossible to clean out of any good brushes you might have. So picked up these epoxy brushes from Debro. They're going to be perfect because I can just throw them away when I'm done, no problem. We're going to get that done, and then we got to clean it, and then we're ready to paint it. Alright, so once you've got a good couple layers of the liquid mask on there and it is completely dry, you can go ahead and use a standard hobby knife to trim off the excess and peel it away, leaving only the areas that you want a different color still masked. And then once you've got all that done, we're ready to get it cleaned up and paint it. Alright, and for the cleaning step, I'm going to start by using a damp paper towel, essentially to rinse the body. And I keep my cleaning simple. I don't use any harsh chemicals like rubbing alcohol or brake cleaner or anything silly like that, mostly because I don't want it to affect the masking that I've put on at all. So I just use water and dish soap, nothing super crazy, and that's usually enough to clean off any oils from your skin or any mold release agent that may be left behind that could impede the paint's adhesion. Now, cleaning things with water and soap, you'll want to make sure that you give it ample time to dry, or you could use compressed air to blow the water out, essentially to quicken the drying time. Alrighty, and moving on to the painting step, you want to make sure that you start spraying off of the piece and actually spray back and forth across the piece. I am not doing it quite right here. This is also just a first coat. Usually with the first coat you want to kind of do a light dusting to make sure the paint has a good surface to adhere to. The first layer is also going to dry very quickly,
So you can usually set the piece down for a very brief period if it's warm outside before giving your paint can another shake and applying another thicker coat. Now with the candy color that I'm using here, and this will vary depending on the type of paint you're using, I made the mistake of applying heavier coats after the first initial light coat, where I should have been doing some still rather light coats and just many of them to build up the color, because I did end up actually getting quite a few runs in my paint. Not something I'm proud to admit, but we all make mistakes, and how we handle those mistakes uh, really defines our character. So if you're doing a candy color or some clear color with a backer of some sort, you want to build it up in light coats as you go along to avoid getting runs, because it is going to be much more prone to running. Alright, once you've built up plenty of the base color, you're going to want to back that with something. Now, if you're backing it with black, you can remove the masking for your black parts at this time. Um, because I'm using the candy color, I have to use a special backer for it. This is a high metallic backer, and the video footage here is not very good, but you want to do something similar to uh, the initial base coat. You want to kind of start off with a lighter coat and then do a couple heavier coats after that to get full coverage. Alright, and for the next step, we're peeling off any of the masking that we want to be the other colors. In my case, it's for the black. I forgot to record a fair portion of it here, but you still want to leave on anything that you want to be clear after this step. And the best way I've found to remove the liquid mask when it has paint on it is to use an X-Acto knife to kind of poke a hole and sort of start peeling it somewhere in the center, and then once you have an area big enough, you can pick at it with your finger and peel the rest of it off, and it actually peels off pretty marvelously. I thought it would peel apart a lot easier than it did. Alright, so anything that is clear at this step is going to become black because I am now spraying black over the whole thing. And at this point, it's not really necessary to do light coats because there's so much paint already applied to the body. You can kind of just lay it on there, and especially with this Spastics black I'm painting with, I actually only really needed one thick coat to get it to be completely solid, because this is meant to be a completely opaque backer for all sorts of different paints that they make. And I'm basically just going to cover over the whole body because that actually also helped to deepen the red color, which is something I was going after as well.
Alright, so with all the paint applied and had plenty of time to dry, we're ready to peel the film off this. There's actually be a protective film on the outside of the body, which will keep it a nice glossy finish without having to mask the entire outside of the body so you don't get any overspray on it. I think it already looks pretty fantastic with the protective film on there, so I'm pretty excited to see what it's going to look like when we take it off here. And all you got to do is essentially work your finger on some kind of corner, tease up an edge, and grab it and give it a good peel. This one's not holding together very well, not peeling very smoothly, but look at that beautiful candy color. That is marvelous. And then all the black trim. After we peel off all the film, we'll peel the window masks and get a good look at it. This is very satisfying, peeling off film. One of my favorite things to do. I gotta say, I was a little worried how that paint would actually turn out, but the thing looks pretty good. Let's get those interior window masks off. So when you're peeling these, you want to be a bit careful, especially if your paint is still a little soft. This one has had plenty of time to dry now, and these are going to be better, easier to peel before the paint is fully dry, but you should still be able to get them peeled off once the paint is dry. Just want to go slow, be careful, watch for any breakout when you're doing it, just so that you don't break the dried paint. And going at kind of a steep angle instead of just going straight will help with that. So there we go. Windshield is clear again. I gotta say, the camera is really not doing justice to just how marvelous this color looks. It almost looks orange on the screen there. But this is such a beautiful, deep, highly metallic red. Just, there's nothing else like it. Alright, so rather than making you sit through me struggling with these window masks, I'll come back to you once the body's all finished and I'll go over the next step. Alright, so once you've got the outside protective film peeled off, you can add your decals, headlights, taillights, grille, brand, logos, emblems, all sorts of things on here. And this is going to really bring the car together, make it look real. And this is the type where you actually have to use an X-Acto knife to cut around and cut out the piece. Some of them might come with pre-cut decals, like the window masks were pre-cut on this. Others, like this one, you'll have to cut them yourself. Alrighty, so here we have it. Decals applied, headlights, grille, tail lights, and badging in the rear. Looks pretty dang good. This color looks absolutely wonderful on this body too. So, that's how you paint an RC body for drifter, basher, pretty much anything that is a clear body. This process for painting applies to. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and that's all I got for you today. So, have a good one.